Inside of this video, I'm going to be showing you what it takes to run a successful event inside a Skool community. I'll be sharing how you can properly run an event. I'll be sharing the workload that goes into creating an event. And I'll be giving you the advantages you receive from running an event inside of your Skool community. The first thing we have to look at is the how. So how do I run an event? Well, let's say that you have a cooking community. Would it be a good idea to do an event about cars? Of course not. Because that's not what people signed up for. They signed up to learn how to cook. Now out of these two, Italian food and spaghetti, which topic do you think is niche enough to do an event about? Italian food. And this is because of the duration of an event. An optimal event takes 40 days. This way you retain a subscription for 2 charges if people care about the event. It's not too long to have people lose interest, and it is long enough to create a positive effect towards the desired goal of the customer. Now let's move over to the next part, and these are the 5 stages of an event. The first stage is open plus value, second is maintain plus value, third is checkup plus hype, fourth is close plus value, and 5 is present. So let's look at the first stage, which is open plus value. This is where you announce to the community that you will be running an event. You do this by making a post and adding value to that post or somewhere on your classroom. That way people are more likely to engage with the event. These are examples of value that you could add inside of an event, especially about cooking, but you can apply this to any other niche. You can give them courses on making Italian food, you can give them a digital cooking book on Italian food, you can make PDFs. Just make sure that the value increases before you start the event. And then you want to provide an event roadmap. So you tell your customers, in the first week we will be making pizza. In the second week we will be making spaghetti. And in the next week we will be making X. Make it so that there is 1 week per topic. And this works because the people who like to move on what you have given them will move, and they will share what they have done inside of the community. And the people who like to wait and see the results of others can wait. And every new week your goal should be to add new pieces of value to keep the event engaged. Then let's look at the second stage, and this is a simple one. This is maintain plus value. So this is where you want to keep the event going. You ask questions and you provide value to your customer. You can ask them, what did you learn, or how did you improve your pizzas? And this is so that you can get all the value that your community has created and compile that into a page on your classroom. And you do this to get the engagement up, you do this to keep the event relevant, and you also want to compile the value of each week. So for example, with the pizza week, you want to compile all the things that people have said about pizza, all the useful stuff, and make it so that people can gather value from what the community has created and combine that with the value that you have given them. Then we move over to the next stage, and this is checkup plus hype. So you need to make them want it. Well, make them want what? The close. You need to mention stage 4, which is here, where you close the event. You need to hype up what you're going to close. So you check up on what the community has created, and then you generate hype for stage 4. So, hey guys, at the end of this event, we will do X. And this is the close. This is the big payoff for your customer. This is the moment that they have been waiting for. You want to drown them in value at this close. You get them on a live call or any other closing method which delivers value to the customer. This closing call is very important. So if you want, you can rehearse it. Just make sure that you drown them in value. And then how do we actually close an event? Well, first, what I recommend is that you use a live call, but also that you have value prepared. So all the things that have been created over the duration of the event, compile them, show them to your customers, show them the results that others got, show them how they did it. Make sure that there's enough value being shown at the end of this event. You want to compile and reshape all the value that your community has created and take that, turn it into a tangible asset. And there's a simple way to present your event, and that is on Canva, which you can use to create a PowerPoint, or you use Miro, which is the program I'm using right now to present all this information to you. And so in this live call, you would go over the most important things that have been created. Let's say someone made a special pizza and posted about it. Add the recipe, give credit, compile all the value into an encyclopedia of Italian food. Talk to the customer, answer questions. You can even host some of your customers if you like. You compile pictures and posts and add all of them together. And then stage 5. This is where you present the event. So here you want to build out the assets inside of your Skool community with the things that have been created over the course of those 40 days. So show your results, add them to the classroom page, and make it so that what you're presenting to them is result delivering content. And so this is where once the event is over, you present everything in Skool. What good are the results of the challenge if everything is gone after 40 days? This package of value, this encyclopedia that you created, should be added as an additional piece of value to the classroom page. That way, people can look at what has been created and use it. And the best part is that both new members and old members can use this newly created resource. Not only that, but if the end result is good, then people will be more likely to engage in future events. That is why this final stage is so important. If the value increases, then you can increase the price. Also, as I just mentioned, your engagement will go up. Then let's look at some things you have to keep in mind in regards to the event. The first thing is that the event has to be done inside of the community. You have to make sure that people post about it inside of the community, that they engage with each other. And you do that by rewarding engagement. So you respond to them, you give them credit, you give them advice. Skool's gamification system also does a really good job at this. And then we have to ask ourselves, won't new members feel left out? Because maybe they join halfway through the challenge and then they're just kind of sitting there waiting for the challenge to end. Yes, they will feel left out, but it's our job to fix that. And this is how you fix it. First, you need to make it so the event is easy to understand. Then you need to have a pinned post inside of your community. But remember, the first pinned post should always be onboarding. Let me repeat that. The first pinned post inside of your community should always be onboarding. The second should be about the event. Otherwise, you will experience major churn. Then, compile the time frames of the event. So, for the pizza week, we compile all of that into a classroom page. Spaghetti week, we compile all of that into a classroom page. And then make sure that your members join the current timestamp or the current week of the event. Make sure that they don't try to rush past and catch up to the other things that have already gone by. They can finish all of that once your event is over. Then let's look at the actual workload it takes to run an event. Full transparency, I am an operator. I am not a creator. I help creators in increasing sales, decreasing churn, managing their community and solving their problems. So I will be approaching this as if you, the creator, also had an operator. Just keep in mind that if you don't have one, then all these things that I'm saying that have to be done are gonna have to be done by you. So first let's look at the setup. And this is where you decide on the topic, the concept of the event. Then you look at the additional value that you are going to add into the community. You create that, so you create your courses, your PDFs. Then you set up the schedule for the event. You write the posts for the event, particularly the posts about maintaining and checking up on your customers. And then you make sure that everything in the backend is set up. And then for the close, you need to make it so that all the value gets collected before the close of the event. You want to create the close call and set up the value collection inside of Skool. It is possible to sustain a community and feed its appetite for content and value just by doing events. I hope you understand what that means. That means that you don't have to create another course or another thing, piece of value, whatever, if you do events and if you do them the right way. Then let's look at the timeline. So the optimal timeline is an event takes 40 days and then you have a 5-day break in between. This is a processing break, and the 40 days are optimal for the event because people stay engaged. Another thing I'd like to mention is that work equals results equals money. What I am showing you here is an optimal scenario. There are going to be a lot of cases where you might not be able to do all of this. I'm assuming that you have an operator, but if you don't, then know that you're going to have to do all of this work yourself. There are alternative ways to approach this. However, I find this the best approach that will deliver the best results. Some of the creators I work with like to work hard and create lots of things. Others like to take it easy. The time here is accurate because creators who work a lot will create more than those who don't. This changes the end result, but most of the time it doesn't change how long it takes to produce one. It's a matter of output over time. And with that, I mean the schedule. So this is what an empty schedule looks like, and this is what it looks like when you're running an event. So red is all the work that creator has to do based on the time, blue is what the operator has to do, and purple is switch work. So first you want to start with the creation of the blueprint. This is something that can be mostly set up by the operator. However, the creator of course has to approve the entire process. And keep in mind, this is just the way I approach it with my clients. Maybe you do it differently with your operator. That's up to you. Then we look at the value creation for event 2. So what we're doing here is we're creating value for this event. We're not talking about this event right now. And then you want to compile everything for the close. Now that is for this event. That's something that can be done by the operator. And then here you want to also close the event. I also recommend that you have 5 topics in total and have week 6 be the close. Because week 6 is never a full week. That's why it's too short to have customers engaged in that short time period. Then we are looking at the break period. Now this is a break for the customer and not for the creator and the operator. Here you want to create value for event 2, which is where I've given more time to the creator to do so, and you want to also have the event prepared. Now this can be done by both the operator and the creator, and so goes the rest for maintaining and checking up. And these are some of the timestamps. Also opening the event, you can do this with posts or calls, that depends, but it is switch work. And so that is what it looks like to run one event, but what does it look like when you're running events back to back? Well, this is what your timetable will look like. And that is if you have an operator. If you don't have one, then this is what your timetable looks like. And I know that seems like a lot of work, but you have to ask yourself, what do I value? Do I value money or do I value time? And this is not a question to judge you. It is just a simple question that you have to ask yourself when you consider running an event. But if you value time, then this is what I recommend. Either you don't do events, you do it differently, or you get an operator. Then let's move over to the next part, which is tracking. First thing you want to do is look at your community engagement. Then you want to separate event from regular engagement. I would like to note here that there are no settings for this in Skool. So you have to do all of this manually. Then step 3 is you want to separate posts and comments. You decide a time interval for your tracking. What you have right now is tons of useful data. And once you learn to read and study that data, this is the hardest part because you have to learn to read it like words. You can use that data to improve future events and personal content. Step 7, you repeat the process. Now here's a list of advantages running an event gets you. Firstly, you get a more engaged audience, which reduces churn. It also improves your Skool stats, which increases organic traffic, which gets you more customers. Next is that you have a content creation process with user input. This increases the content inside of your product, which increases the value inside of your product, which gets you more customers and it reduces your churn. Then you have more satisfied customers, which reduces your churn, and you get word of mouth referrals, which gets you more customers. Then you add more value for the sales page, more customers. And the same goes for the sales page, you get more customers. And so if I had to summarize all of this, this is how I would summarize events. Events are very effective churn reducers while simultaneously being very effective scaling tools. That was it for this video. If it was helpful, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you want me to help you scale and manage your info product, or you just want to know why I make these videos, then click the first link in the description.